everyone, Amy here. I'm going to be telling you all about how to make jam tarts. So the things you will need first of all are your instruction sheet, which you can print out, which will tell you all about how to make jam tarts. And then you need the ingredients, which are down this side here. So we've got plain flour, we've got some butter, an egg, some vanilla essence or extract, some flavoured jam, I've chosen strawberry jam, salt only if you wish to add extra salt, but you'll also need extra things like a bowl. I've got some cold water there in a bowl, I've got my baking tin, and I've got some scales. So that's what you need before you can start your cooking. So I have measured out my flour and my butter. I've weighed them out and I put them in a bowl together. And what I've been doing, because it takes quite a while, is I have been mixing using my fingertips like this. I've been mixing the cubes of butter and the flour together, just rubbing using my thumb and my fingertips to try and make something that looks a little bit like breadcrumbs. So you might have some small little chunks left. If you see any big chunks of butter, just try and smush them together with your fingertips, together with the flour, to try and get rid of any lumps of butter. So once you've done that and it's looking a little bit like breadcrumbs, then it's time to add your egg and vanilla essence. So stir in the egg and vanilla essence is what is on my instructions. And just so we're aware, this is the very first time I've ever made jam tarts. So I'm hoping it all goes to plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a knife. Obviously I've got a sharp one, but you be very careful, obviously ask an adult if you're using a knife. You don't need to use a sharp one to break an egg, it's just what I've got to hand. So I'm going to crack the egg open and I'm going to pour it in. Just hope that no shell goes in there. Obviously if a little bit of shell goes in there, just pick it out. Okay, so I've got one egg, pop that aside. You can see my egg floating around in there. Now vanilla essence or vanilla extract is quite strong. So on the ingredients it doesn't say how much, but I would just say 1 or 2 drops, or sort of less than half a teaspoon, quarter of a teaspoon maybe. So I'm just going to pour very delicately, whoops, tiny little dribble, that might have been too much, but we'll see, of vanilla extract. And I've got my egg already in there. So I'm now going to mix it all together and hopefully it will start to combine. Okay, so I have had my pastry in the fridge for half an hour to chill. And what I've done now is I have dusted my work surface and I'm going to roll out my dough. I'm going to use a cutter. Now the cutter I've chosen is just slightly bigger than the hole in my tart tin, so that you've got enough pastry to be able to push into the hole. I'm going to cut out as many as that will fit into my tart tin, and I'm going to push them in. And what else do I need to do? Oh, oven. You need to turn the oven on. So I've got a fan oven, so it's going to be on 180 degrees centigrade, which is 200 in a normal oven, or gas mark 6. And then what I'm going to do with my pastry tin is I'm going to grease it up so that the pastry doesn't stick. So I've already done most of the holes, and the best way I find to do it, I've just got a bit of kitchen towel and I'm just dipping it in a little butter, and then I'm just rubbing it around in each hole to grease the tart tin. And the reason for that is so that the jam tarts don't stick to the base, because otherwise it will be a nightmare to try and get them out. So that's all greased. I've got my pastry ready to roll out and cut out, and then we're going to fill it with jam. Okay, so I rolled out my dough. I used my cutter to cut 12 cases. And I think they're looking really pretty. So what I did is I put each case, just pressed it into the hole like that. And then I've been using my jam. So I would say for this kind of size, about a heaped teaspoonful works quite nicely. So I'm just going to finish the rest while we're on camera. So pop that in there, another one for there, and the last one for there. Obviously, if you've got different flavoured jams, feel free to make a mixture, but I've only got strawberry, so I'm just going to do my strawberry. So I've done my last three, and then I have used a small heart cutter, so I cheated a little bit, but you can always just freehand cut a little heart, and I'm just going to pop the heart on top like so. Okay, and that's it for that stage. Okay, so I have mixed in my egg and my vanilla essence into my breadcrumbs, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cold water and I'm going to add 1 tablespoon. So that's 1 tablespoon of cold water into my mix. And I'm going to leave the tablespoon aside and get back into my hands. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, see if I can move the phone a tiny bit. I'm going to try and start to bring it together with my hands. So if you start to bring it together, once you've put 1 tablespoon in, and it's really not coming together and it's still really crumbly, so I can see mine is sort of parts of it's coming together, parts of it are still crumbly. So you can always add another tablespoon of water. If you're worried about it becoming too sticky, then just add a little bit at a time. So I'm going to add sort of half a tablespoon, half a tablespoon, see what happens. Let's see if I can bring it together. We don't want to be kneading it too much, it says on my instructions. We just want to be trying to bring it together. So you can see I'm bringing it together, but it is still quite crumbly. So I'm going to add a little bit more water, so just a little bit at a time, so that you don't end up having too sticky a dough. Okay. Now it's still quite crumbly, but I know what happens if you add too much water, it will get really sticky. So we can see it's starting to come together, but I've got quite a few crumbly bits left in this bowl. So I'm going to be really careful not to add too much, just a tiny bit more water, and see if I can get the rest of this dough onto my ball. And I'm just using my hands because you wouldn't, using spoons or tools, it's really hard, whoopsie, to bring the dough together, making a bit of a mess. But it doesn't matter, because that's what cooking's all about, and that is exactly why I'm wearing an apron. So, okay. It's looking promising. So obviously you're going to get sticky hands, messy work surface, but it doesn't matter. So you can see now that my dough is coming together. So what we're going to do now is we're going to wrap it in cling film and put it in the fridge, because then it will sort of bind together as it gets cold. So we're going to put it in the fridge for 30 minutes and then get it back out and finish our jam tarts. So my jam tarts have just come out of the oven. I think I may have made my pastry a little bit too thick and put a little bit too much jam on, but it doesn't actually matter if you do put too little or too much jam, as long as they still look alright, and I'm sure they will taste lovely. So once you've let them cool a tiny bit, you can either eat them straight away, or you might like to find a box, maybe decorate a box, put a nice little note in if you've got a close neighbour or somebody that you know means a lot to you, that you would like to give one of your jam tarts to. Or alternatively, eat them all yourself because you made them. So it's entirely up to you. So I'm looking forward to now sitting down with my cup of tea and a jam tart. Enjoy!